to say thank you for all of your hard work during this particularly demanding year. An enormous thank you to all of you for your dedication during these extremely busy, sometimes difficult, and exciting times. Each of you goes above and beyond to provide remarkable service to our residents. You are truly the town's greatest strengths.
Oh, the one thing that's super exciting, Mayor Bill, we have the spray park up and ready to go.
That big bucket.
Fun.
Absolute. Kids are looking forward to getting wet. I can't wait. It's an awesome, awesome facility. Shelley Sager approached me a number of years ago, and the antique fire truck is now known through Shelley's lobbying efforts as the Darcy Smith Special Events Cruiser, because he had been a volunteer firefighter who unfortunately passed away. It's the 1956 International Fire Truck that is our antique fire trucks. Now, without further delay, it's time to light the Christmas tree. Let's do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Whoa! On behalf of all of Okotoks Council, we wish you a wonderful holiday season and a happy, healthy new year. We are thrilled to be working with Foothills County, and we look forward to a long and prosperous relationship that will provide the water supply solution our residents have been waiting so patiently for. I'd like to challenge the region mayors in the Calgary region. So Mayor Naydene Nancy, Reeve Suzanne Ohl, I'd like to challenge you to participate in the Mayor's Lunchbox Challenge and help rethink waste and get creative with your leftovers. So be there. Thank you for joining me here today. Please enjoy the fireworks. I wish you all a very happy and healthy new year. Happy 2021. 3, 2, 1. It's even more important to support young athletes. It's become very clear of the important role that sport plays in the social fabric of our communities. Okotoks takes great pride in being part of the world of sport, as these major events help to promote participation, leadership, and fitness. It is so valuable for people to learn the benefits of competition, while at the same time making lasting friendships and, most importantly, having fun.
We are all in this together. Thank you, first responders.
So much. You are fantastic.
Thanks so much.
I thank you all for your help and for your commitment to supporting each other and being a good neighbor. Let's care together, Okotoks. So this particular book I'm going to read is called The Great Fuzz Frenzy, and it's about a dog, Violet, who likes to chase the ball, but sometimes she does exactly what Shady, my dog, would do. It's a great story. I've read this to numerous kids in the town of Okotoks, different classes. So we'll get started. I just want to say that, remember, we're in this together. We are much stronger together. We're going to get through this together. We're going to bask in the recovery and prosperity later on together. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Please stay safe and healthy.
We've drawn a speaking order, and Tanya Thorn is to go first, followed by Jeff Reinhart, followed by Naydene Lewis. So we will get started, and then everybody is going to take a turn going first for questions. So Tanya, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Politics was a regular dinner table conversation growing up in my family. And it's where I learned the art of respectful dialogue and the importance of serving your community. I'm Tanya Thorn, and I'm here today to tell you why I'm running for mayor. I believe with strong leadership, Okotoks can build a future where possibilities are realized for the entire community. Here's why I believe this. Strong leadership understands the issues and has experience making difficult decisions. I've made decisions on topics like the town budget, community infrastructure, and navigated the issues around COVID-19 for the last 20 months. Whether it is on municipal funding, impacts to policing, or the downloading of costs, I have a solid understanding of how provincial issues will affect our community. Strong leadership is transparent, open, and accountable. I regularly communicate what is occurring at the council table. I seek input from a diverse group of our community. I listen to individual concerns, which enables me to find paths forward for our entire community. Strong leadership builds teams and empowers people. An exceptional community is achieved by teamwork, recognizing the strengths of individuals and empowering them to create solutions. I believe with strong leadership, Okotoks can build a future where possibilities are realized for our entire community. My call to action for all of you that can hear my voice is to vote by October 18th, and a vote for Tanya Thorn for mayor would be even better. Thank you very much.
My name is Jeff Reinhart, a born and raised Okotokian. I've lived in Okotoks for over 40 years. I grew up in the schools. I grew up in the communities of recreation. I believe that as growing up and becoming an adult, I had opportunities to leave Okotoks, and I've never taken that opportunity because I love Okotoks. Okotoks is my home. I became a journeyman electrician in the mid-2000s, and through that, I was able to work in and around our community for many years. I've seen it change and grow, and now I'm raising my own family within the community. I love this town, and I've always loved this town. I want my children to grow up and love this town. I decided to run for mayor. It wasn't because I want power or I want something for myself. I want a community that is better moving forward into the future. I believe we need to resolve solutions to water. We need to bring a sustainable water source once and for all to Okotoks. I believe that is the most important thing. I also believe that we need to bring business to Okotoks, because I believe our business to residential tax ratio is out of balance, and bringing more business to Okotoks will then lessen the burden on our existing taxpayers. I also believe communication, being in a council chamber with other members, engaging this community, and being able to work with one another to come up with solutions and ideas to make our town better. I also believe in youth recreation, sports, and arts and culture, and growing our community through our youth is very valuable. Thank you so much, and on October 18th, I look forward to seeing you at the polls.
Naydene, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Naydene Lewis, and I'm asking for your vote for this municipal election. I want to be your representative and your voice for common sense and community values. Common sense being the focus on community needs and community values that focus on a sense of place for every person who chooses Okotoks as home. I believe that residents elect their council to be their voice on all matters. I have experience on Okotoks Town Council, and I've taken the governance classes. I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm educated in renewable energy, conservation, human rights, business, and as a paralegal. My lifelong learning skills are in business and being a great mom. When you elect me, you can be sure that your rights in our community will be respected, acknowledged, and preserved. Our community will always know where I stand on issues of concern, such as affordable living, great communication, balanced, affordable taxation, and economic development, because I will be standing right beside you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to start with a question that's a nod to the expertise of Mayor Bill as a way to kick us off. All but one possible seat is guaranteed to be new councillors. Do you have the governance experience to run a tight and productive meeting?
When it comes to town politics, obviously I am not experienced in municipal government per se, but I have sat on boards within the community, and I believe that my leadership within those boards, and even being able to volunteer throughout the community, whether it be hockey, coaching, all that kind of stuff, I believe that I can bring the leadership to allow people to communicate with each other, work with each other, respect each other, and work towards a common goal.
Naydene?
I have the experience both on boards and on council. I do have to review my Robert's Rules of Orders. I'm not going to deny that. It's been a few years since I've had to use them thoroughly, and I have no problem learning those all over again through boards and committee meetings, etc., and hopefully again on council.
Tanya?
Yes. Nobody will ever know Robert's Rules of Order like Mayor Bill knew Robert's Rules of Order. I have been watching and learning from him for the past 8 years, and he has been a great teacher in that regard. I have invested greatly in the last 8 years, upskilling in terms of governance experience. I'm certified with the Institute of Corporate Directors on governance, and have my designation there. I chair the Interim Police Advisory Board for the Alberta government, and have been chairing that for the past year. I chair the Safe and Healthy Communities with Alberta Urban Municipalities Association, and I have chaired the Governance and Priorities Committee in our community. So yes, I feel that I have the skills available and ready to move forward with a meeting. Robert's Rules of Order, I will never get those perfect, but I will do my best. Thank you.
He was a master at that, certainly. Absolutely. Okay, let's jump into the issue. I'm just going to leave it at water. What's the plan? Naydene, you're first.
I'm starting first. Oh, this is out of order. What's the plan for water?
What's the plan? How are you going to address water?
We have a history of a plan that is slow to fruition, and I'm hoping that during this term on council, whoever's leading the way will have the plan in place. First, we need to find out what's going on at the provincial level to find out what's slowing us down. As I understand it, the town has been speaking with Nanton about a pipeline in partnership with them as legislation goes. As far as the provincial government goes, we have to have partners. If I had it my way, we'd be partnering with our local region and getting all municipalities on board for their future development as well. So our plan is to get that pipeline 8 kilometers west right away.
Tanya?
We have a memorandum of understanding with Foothills County in place. We have purchased the land for reservoir storage site. Alberta government has indicated we must have 3 months of storage capacity So we've purchased that land. That deal was done in May. We are in the process right now of walking through what the design will look like and what capacity will be of the new pipeline. We are talking with Manton, so it just changes some of the capacity. Both ourselves and Foothills County are looking at what are our long-term needs and what are our plans with growth both here in Okotoks and in the industrial corridor in Foothills County. Those designs and capacities are scheduled to go into the Alberta government for those applications in Q4 of this year. And our environmental water treatment or wastewater treatment plant, I'll get the wrong name and acronym for it, has been submitted to the government. And we are on track to break ground 2022.
Thank you. At the end of the day, we need the solution sooner than later. I think having a strong working relationship with our provincial government, our surrounding county, and anyone involved that will allow us to have this solution resolved. I understand that there is partnership with the MD of Foothills, and being able to collaborate with them to come up with this full solution to get water to Okotoks is my first and foremost primary thing that I would like to accomplish, and making sure that we have good communication with these entities will help ensure that. Thank you.
It's me, right? Affordable housing. So there's a few initiatives that are already on track. Partnership with West Winds, Brandon Stratford Association. We've also facilitated some partnerships with West Winds and a private developer that's moving forward with some affordable housing initiatives. Water is also another element of it. I know it doesn't sound like it should be, but water connects into creating affordability in our community because it's impacting the uncertainty around water has been impacting us on an economic basis, which, to what my colleague here mentioned, is around the diversity of our tax base and that non-residential growth. And so we need that uncertainty so that we can start to address some of that affordability. So those are some of the partnerships that are going forward. I will continue to facilitate those partnerships. We also need to be advocating to the province and the federal government for more affordable housing dollars and directing those into our community.
Affordable housing, I believe, is very important to our community. The improvement of this area should be a focus as we continue to develop new communities. It is important to make sure that as we increase affordable housing, we also sustain affordable living. And I believe that when it comes to creating these communities, we would need to make sure that our taxes and our utility costs keep in check with these communities. I also believe that with these affordable housing communities coming into Okotoks, we also need to make sure that we maintain jobs. So creating a business environment for these communities so that they're not having to travel back and forth to Calgary is very important as well.
Naydene, go ahead.
Thank you. This issue is about affordable living in Okotoks, which is affordable housing. It's also affordable taxes. It's affordable user fees. I think that in every area of our lives in Okotoks, people want to be able to live affordably. And with partnerships like our West Winds communities, Brenda Stratford Foundations, nonprofit organizations, we have a lot of opportunity and potential to keep the expense, utilities, housing, groceries, everything at a reasonable cost and an affordable rate so that we can live here from birth till death if we choose to, with our children being able to stay here as well.
There are a number of questions coming in on the chat about economic development. So we can go there next since you guys all sort of address that in your last answers. There has been much conversation about the tax differential in the last several years. However, there hasn't been much movement on that from my perspective, from the community's perspective. And if we entice new businesses and those businesses carry more of the tax, how are you going to attract them? Is a question that came in from the chat. So I'm going to ask broadly, in terms of economic development, explain your position on where you think we're at and where you think we need to be.
I think our business community in Okotoks is not big enough. And I believe that being able to supply and have incentives like flexible short-term tax rates for new business would allow businesses to then come into our town, have an easier time getting established within the community, developing a clientele, and then being able to then increase their taxes once they've become established and not willing to move out of the town. I believe in doing this, we would allow more business to come in, which would then obviously offset our taxes, allowing taxes to come down or at least be less of a burden on our residents and also on our existing businesses.
Thank you. My perspective on economic development is that we need to start partnering our community businesses that we have so that they are more familiar with what we have in our town. With a 15% tax base, as I understand it, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're relying on our businesses to provide only 15% of our tax base and 85% is burdened onto our residents, then we need to shift our direction to get industry out here, providing incentives, perhaps rent reductions or rent freezes for some of our small businesses, and establishing some tax breaks so that they can get started and establish themselves in our community for jobs.
This is a multi-pronged approach and multi-pronged different ways. One is we need to build some partnerships with investors that we are selling a great value proposition of why choose Okotoks. Right now, we are losing out on investment in Okotoks because of water. And that is apparent because they do not have a certainty of trading base. Few things that are currently occurring. One, we're in the process of advancing the North Industrial Corridor and working on a huge partnership with that. So that's an industrial focus. Under me as mayor, I will be moving forward with finalizing that we're in the Alberta Foothills Industrial Corridor, the Afika Corridor, which is between Okotoks, High River, and that destination. And then we also just need to work on what makes us, why Okotoks? Why would businesses choose Okotoks? There also then needs to, that's attraction, but there needs to be a policy and a process. It's a hot one. I'm assuming there'll be another question on it. Yeah.
No,
Jeff could go first if he wants to. Thank you. So over the last couple of years, there's been a 0% tax increase, but over the last 8 years, there's been an 18.6 cumulative property tax increase. There's also only been an increase in 5.44% of average weekly earnings. So a 0% tax increase in the budget for 2022 If I remember correctly, at the last council meeting, they said that the administration said that they required a minimum of a 2% tax increase to meet their obligations. I'm still waiting to find out what the obligations are for. And I think as a community, we need to know what those obligations are for before we make those decisions, and justify the 2%, including the RCMP financing, that we don't know where the money's coming from for their retroactive pay.
Tanya. Yes, as soon as I find it on my list, I scrolled away. Oh, there's no increase of tax in the budget. So what are you going to do to meet that fiscal responsibility of no tax increase?
Yeah, so I'm going to challenge the question a little bit, because there is in the budget guidelines that are coming forward, it is a 2% tax increase that has been, that's what administration's been given to create the budget for a new council. There is no tax increase set for the businesses. So maybe that was where the question was coming from. We've had 2 years. So I will challenge my colleagues' numbers of 18% over the last 8 years. I'd have to go and actually really look at that, because it doesn't align with where I've looked at numbers. But we do have some fiscal challenges coming at us in a variety of different ways. New infrastructure that comes on board. We've got the RCMP collective agreement. That retroactive pay is a 4% tax increase just in itself. So managing those fiscal realities, I think, will be a challenge for this new council, which is one of the reasons why that economic development initiative is so important. But I do think there's great ways for us to manage it.
Jeff.
So, not increasing taxes doesn't necessarily solve any problems. People want affordable living, and in order for us to achieve affordable living within Okotoks, we need to come together as a community, as a council, and make smart decisions on spending, being thorough, looking into sustainable investments, and not just spending money however we see fit. We need to make good decisions, and including bringing in more business. I'm going to say it again: bringing in more business will help our tax on our residents. And so everything that we do needs to be well thought out, smart, responsible, and sustainable.
Okay, so let's stay on economic development then, since you all want to talk about it. Do you think that our main street, our downtown area, Elizabeth, and all the other street names that encompasses, Alma Street, the district we now know, I guess, as River District, do you think it's healthy and successful? If yes, why? And if no, what would you do to change it?
Can I say in between? There's
Maybe.
elements of things that are happening on those streets that I think we're just right at the kickoff. It will be the best way for us. There's some great vibrancy. We've got some amazing small businesses that are coming into our downtown core, and they're all working together to activate that space. Where I think we're not doing the greatest of job is in educating, and one of my colleagues said this earlier, is educating our community as to what we have, why they can shop local, why they don't need to go anywhere else. And so that, I think, is one of the key initiatives we need to do. I also, I'm on record of proponent of activating our downtown core. When you bring people into a downtown core, they might not the first time come for shopping, but when they get a chance to experience that core, they come back and then they spend dollars. And there's tons of research on that. So it's finding those balances.
I will definitely agree with Councillor Thorn that there is some great businesses down there, and they're only getting better. And I believe that the community atmosphere and the together atmosphere that they've shown through community events and downtown events is amazing. The one thing that I would say is a drawback is the parking. There is no accessibility for a lot of these places. It's very hard for elderly people to get access to certain areas where they need walkers or wheelchairs or anything like that. So I believe that if we can improve how we are able to park and get people in and out of there, I think it would be much, much better.
I love the
So
downtown.
go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Did you want to talk?
No, you were looking at me. Go ahead.
Okay, so the downtown core and the downtown revitalization project that the town's taking a look at are similar but different. And I agree with both of my colleagues here on our downtown. It's thriving. Any place can always be better, but we've got a lot of animation down there. We have wonderful business opportunities down there. I'd like to see more livelihood in the evenings, not necessarily through bars, but through entertainment. And I definitely would like to see the parking that is available have good signage throughout the downtown core. And I'd like the businesses to be able to communicate better with each other about how they're feeling about the revitalization project.
So accessibility and mobility, as one or two of you hit on, are big challenges that are being talked about in our downtown area in particular, but perhaps, it's certainly in the broader community as well. What do you think the municipality should do to address that?
Obviously, the obvious answer to this one is obviously creating more parking spaces. That's a challenge, obviously in itself, but I think also being able to designate certain areas, I guess, that would allow for people who have mobility issues or any handicap spaces more accessible, allowing people to get to and from the places they need to. It's also probably advantageous to create additional parking maybe just outside so that people working in these businesses don't necessarily take up the spots in front of the businesses and allow the patrons to come and go as they please.
Naydene?
So for differently abled persons in our community, we need to be looking at drop curbs so that people who are in walkers or have foot drag or whatever the situation is for them don't have issues getting out of their vehicle and can get onto the curb safely with their walker or their wheelchair, whatever the case may be, or a cane. I challenged the town a few years ago about the lack of handicap parking in the public areas of town. And I've found that the downtown core still hasn't met what I would consider meet a significant number of on-site parking to meet the needs. Outside the downtown core, the businesses have done a great job.
Tanya?
Multi-pronged again. You're going to hear me say that a lot. I agree that we need more handicap parking in the downtown core. I've been a proponent of encouraging for more of that and turning street parking into that. But I also think that we need to come back and create a task force, and that might not be the right word, but ultimately go to the people that are experiencing the accessibility challenge. We develop typically from a textbook, that here's the plan, here's how wide the street should be, here's what this looks like. But I don't know if that's always practical and actually meets the needs. So I think that we need to do more of that, of let's actually bring, people that are dealing with a walker, or wheelchair, or blind, or hearing impaired, or whatever that is, and start really bringing that into that inclusion piece of how do we design communities, areas for everyone.
Speaking of everyone, what are you intending to do to meet the needs of youth in Okotoks?
Meeting the needs of the youth. Well, I've raised 4 children here. And if they weren't involved in sports, then they hung out at the library or the skate park or the recreation center until they hit about 17. Then we had a void in town, or we have a void in town for our older youth. I would like to see some sort of organization, but disorganization. The teenagers don't need to be in organized events all the time. They like to be creative and spontaneous, just like we all did when we were teenagers. But if we could have a place, a safe place for them to do that, I would be all in.
Yeah.
I could list a multitude of sport facilities that I know have been requested. I think the number one that I hear from a wide range of from 12 to about 24 is either a second skate park or an expansion of the skate park. It's one of our most highly used facilities. But I think, and I've done this a lot over the last 4 years, well, not as much as I'd like, but some is engaging with the youth and actually asking them what they want. Because I think we are all I know I've been surprised at some of the things that they're asking for. But we need to empower them to create space for themselves and to have space that is accessible, safe, and part of the community and integrated into the community. So I think that's where I would like to see is create that youth task force. And I know I've used that word a couple of times, but I'm a big believer of asking our community of what is important to them. It's great to have 7 people, but we don't always know.
I believe it is important to engage the youth and try and climb up into their head and see what they are actually thinking and what they are actually wanting, and being able to help and support in creating spaces and environments for them to enjoy and thrive and be successful. And, you know, if it's through various innovative projects moving forward to engage with them and yeah, let's build a bigger skate park if that's what they're looking for. But it's definitely communication engagement with them to see how they want their youth to be exciting and supported. So that's exactly what I think. I think we need to communicate with them and ask them what they want.
So on that topic, have we properly adequately, I know some of this is future planning, address the needs of post-secondary in this community to answer to keeping them here and keeping them engaged?
I think the expansion of Bow Valley College is a great first step. Moving into the new, old library building. With that renovation, they'll be in there before the end of the year. So that expansion is definitely opens that up. I also think that a benefit that's come out of COVID, if you can say there's a benefit out of COVID, is this online learning availability. We've seen more students accessing education remotely from far away. I've got a couple people I know that are accessing Harvard classes, and they're doing it from here in our community and working here. Doesn't work for every student, but I also think that this ties into an economic development strategy of what makes Okotoks awesome and what is it we could attract for education facilities that isn't necessarily a University of Calgary or University of Edmonton, but is there a hub that we can create here that allows certain education opportunities to exist in Okotoks because we're the right community for those opportunities?
I think it ties back into the last question in the fact that if we are engaging the youth and asking them what it is they feel they need within this community to want to stay here and want to be a part of this community. I think that's also important. I think maybe engaging in committees or commitments through youth and seniors even to come together and learn from each other and be able to recognize that, you know, there's more in town than just sports and all that. But I think it's key that we're able to engage them, invest in what they're looking for and what they need.
This is a great topic. I'd like to see our youth stay in our community and grow old here. We have the opportunity through Bow Valley College, but that's only one sector. We also have the registered apprenticeship programs that are at Foothills Comp, that if we could work in a partnership with the Comp, we could offer weekend apprenticeship courses so that people who have an interest in the trades could get their education on weekends or in evenings right here at home. We could be taking advantage of economic development by having apprenticeships being offered throughout the community and RAP programs through the school. And that's it.
What is your plan for the future of the arts portion of the Arts and Learning Campus?
I think it's very important that we are supporting our arts and learning community through engagement with business. I think we can create a partnership where arts and culture can thrive in events with business, to allow businesses to then be successful and our artists to be able to represent to display their talents, and businesses through that also would be able to earn money and come grow the economy through that. I think that a performing arts center is important, but I also believe that there needs to be very much thought go into it on the economic impact of it.
Naydene?
I like this topic. So the arts program, the arts portion of the Arts and Learning Campus is what you were asking about. And I don't see a future of it being downtown along the River Valley. I see a future of it being out in the county as a community partner with all of our regional municipalities in a vision of theater, performing arts, of dance and imagery for all of the arts community. And I see the downtown part of the Arts and Learning Campus as a simple amphitheater for summer events. I'm sorry, but I really believe that our arts community has been put on the back burner for way too many years, and it's time to put it up front and center in partnerships with other communities.
Tanya?
I agree with my colleague that the arts has been pushed down the block far too long. I will be a proponent that we see phase 2 of the Arts and Learning Campus go forward. There is tons of data that shows $1 investment in arts returns at least $3 back into your community. I'm a huge believer that it needs to be in our downtown core because it's a key second anchor to the downtown core. Typically with the arts events comes restaurants, shopping, all of that. And we're just in the process of building that in our downtown. By adding that arts component in, it makes us one of the few locations that people can come, park, eat, go to their show, get back to their vehicle and leave again. And we're one of the few locations that will allow that. And I keep forgetting whether that's the first day or the second day.
So there's a vibrant film community in this community as well. So how do we ensure their success in the future? Tanya, I think that's you going first. Yeah.
Okay.
Film.
Yes. So one, I believe we're working on a film industry policy. So I believe the Film Festival or Film Society, I'll get the name wrong, but they're working on a film-friendly policy. Would like to see that continue. And then I think we need to work with Keep Alberta Rolling in terms of creating a showcase of locations in our community. Of, you know, why would you choose here for whatever it might be, the one scene they need to do or whatever that location is. So create that showcase of the locations, and not just in our community, but our region. We're a fabulous region. We've got great history of supporting film in this area. I also think there's an opportunity on the economic development side of it for us to provide some incentive for, you know, a long running series or for a period that's going to be in here, but that has to be done and worked with in conjunction of our business community, because it does disrupt business sometimes depending on the location.
I think we need to reach out and communicate exactly what's going to bring it to Okotoks. And I believe that if we are able to reach out to the proper channels and engage with people involved in that, I think we would be able to really thrive and bring much needed business and economy into Okotoks through that. So I think if we're able to I'm trying to find words here. Just be able to communicate and bring out as much information as we can to support anything will be just fine.
Go ahead.
Will you read the question again, please?
I didn't write down the question. It was about engaging with our film, with the film community in town,
Okay.
and how we're going to support them in their future.
Okay, so we have a great little film community in our town. They're a small group, but they're a dedicated group. And I would like to see this group develop a list of best places. Politicians and administration have ideas of the best places in town for filming. But I think the people that are on the ground running it have the best ideas. And I think that we can support them by partnering with our businesses and our schools and our chamber, of course, to develop a platform for the future for the film industry in Okotoks.
As you good?
Yes.
Yes. As mayor, your leadership is of paramount importance in our town. So as part of this job interview, can you tell us what experience you have working with senior executives and executive teams to get the best from them for an organization?
I can't say that I've had too much experience working with any of these types of things, but I can say that I do have leadership qualities. I know how to listen. I know how to bring people together. I know how to encourage ideas and bring forth a positive atmosphere. I feel I can encourage an inclusive atmosphere for people to feel safe and confident in bringing forward their ideas and their thoughts and concerns. And I think I'm a great communicator. I think I'm open to anyone's ideas, whether I feel like I'm on one side of a thought or another. I like to listen to both sides and make sure that every decision I make is well informed.
So experienced in working with leaders, administrators, and other senior staff. I was an area manager and a senior manager, as well as a team lead for Statistics Canada for several years. and for special projects, but also for their regular monthly questionnaires that they asked people that everybody hated to answer. I had to follow up on those. I've been the president or chair, depending on the title you like to use, of various boards in our region and beyond. And I think communication and listening, clear communication and listening and thinking outside the box brings everybody together so that everyone's on the same page. And even if you disagree, you can disagree respectfully.
Tanya.
I've been working with the senior executive team on our organization for the last 8 years. So few things. One, I think it's about a new council. First groundwork that's going to need to be is building trust between team council and team administration and creating team Okotoks from a governance perspective. And then being really clear about setting clear expectations of, and when you create that platform of trust, that allows us to have that respectful dialogue of, nope, this is what we want to do and where we want to go, but also to be able to hear from administration of, okay, well, these are the pros and cons of this, so that they're bringing us a complete package of information to make great decisions. But you have to have that trust. But we also need to empower our administrative team to actually find solutions, because they're the how of council. So we need to empower them to go find solutions and then have their back when they do them.
You will be required as council and certainly as mayor to make decisions on complex topics, lots of information and lots of viewpoints. Someone is always going to be disappointed. So what are the key factors you consider when making decisions that will guide the town's future? Naydene, I think that's you.
Already? Complex topics and key factors in making decisions. Knowing the facts. And if you don't feel you have the facts, then you ask more questions until you feel that you have all the facts. You gather the resources, the people that are informed, and you ask the questions. And the more complex the information is, the more questions you have to ask. But you have to be open and trust that the information that you're getting is complete, to have a complete conversation and to make the decisions soundly, so that you're also ensuring that the residents and the businesses in town understand why the decisions are being made.
Tanya.
Decision-making is never easy in a leadership position. And one thing I've learned is that it doesn't matter what side of the decision you're on, somebody doesn't like it. So I think when you're dealing with those complex topics, and if they're complex, it usually means that they've been in process for a while. So one is engagement and information out as to what is happening and what that process is a key element. I've learned in some of the training and leadership training I've taken in the last 4 years is making sure you're asking those hard questions and asking questions of who's not at the table, who hasn't been represented in this decision, so that you make sure you're filling in those gaps. And you have to be willing to ask those tough questions and hard questions and sometimes difficult questions in order to elicit and feel that comfort in making a complex decision. And then you need to look broadly at our whole community and determine what makes the sense for the entire community.
Can I just say what they said? No.
What she said?
when you're making any decision in life or anything, you need to be well informed. You need to know all sides of what you're facing and being able to fully understand all of the little aspects of what you're facing. And so I believe that research, questions, being able to get to the bottom of what you're trying to achieve I think is the main thing that you need to keep in mind. And so when you're making a decision, you need to do your work, ask the questions, get the facts, understand what's being asked, and then go from there.
How can we improve on citizen engagement going forward in this town?
I love this question. So in the last 8 years, I've been one of the few at the table that has engaged on social media. I believe that needs to be expanded. I think everybody that sits in an elected position has a responsibility to engage where our residents or the people they represent are. I also would like to see us move forward with a consistent plan for council town halls. And I would say not just council, but council administration town halls, because there's value to having both sides of that group represented with information. So I'd like to see that be a consistent, we know it's going to happen, whether that's every 4 months, and this is where it's going to be. And all of council is there and the community is invited to ask whatever. It's not as structured. It's going to be on XYZ topic. As mayor, I will continue with Mayor's Bill Facebook Lives and those updates out of a council meeting. I'll continue to do that and take those questions from community.
I think the approach needs to be very proactive, not reactive. I think we need to get out in front of people. I think we need to force ourselves to engage them and then have them, you know, be there for us as well. But if we are engaging, if we are taking the initiative to engage the residents, whether it be through social media or if it's through a newsletter that we put in your water bill to invite you or let you know what is going on in the town, at least then we know we are communicating with as many residents as possible and have a way to embrace being able to talk with our residents and learn from them and be able to allow the town, the administration, and the residents to all come together and work as a community.
I love communication. So my ideas on improving communication are a lot in line with Tanya's, but I see it going further. I'd like to get rid of the fluff on the community pages of the Western Wheel, and I'd like to see the minutes of our meetings, or at least a synopsis of the town council meeting minutes, posted every other week after a meeting. I would like to see Facebook Live events. I would like to see committee of the whole meetings where councillors and mayor actually get to sit down before a meeting or on a different day than a council meeting to have an open discussion about ideas and where they've come from. But I'd like to have coffee houses where people can come in and just talk about what they want to talk about.
What experience do you have operating a multi-million-dollar and multifaceted organization that you feel can help you lead the town of Okotoks?
That's you first.
Is it? Yeah, it's me. I don't have any experience in multi-million-dollar deals or anything like that. I believe that I'm the type of person that wants what's best for Okotoks. I have integrity. I have respect. I believe that any decision that I make, I understand that the money is not my money, it's the taxpayers' money. And I believe that moving forward as the mayor of Okotoks, if I am elected, I will make sure that every decision that's made with $1 is responsible, smart, and sustainable.
I've never led a multi-million-dollar corporation either, not for myself, but I think that's administration's job in this town, and they do it well. I'd like to certainly see more information available to the residents on a regular basis about the multi-million-dollar projects and how much it's actually costing the residents and businesses here. but I can't say that I would be running any multi-million-dollar projects because it's not my job. It's the administrator's job.
I have 8 years of experience being involved in that on the budget process. And a couple of things. I've taken 2 municipal finance courses. Municipal finances are just a bit different than a business financial table. Yes, it's the same thing. Revenues in, expenses out, same concepts, but there's nuances to municipal finances. So I've taken that. I've got a track record of being the one person that nobody likes to see at budget time because I have a long list of questions when it comes to budget. But like Naydene said, we've got experts that are there to create that budget for us. What council's job and what I feel my job is to ask really clear questions to understand the big buckets we're dealing with. It's not to get into the weeds of how much are we spending on paper clips, but to understand, are we delivering good value for the money that we're spending?
How will you focus on municipal issues and determine when to advocate to other levels of government?
Can you please say that again?
Yes. How will you focus on municipal issues and also determine when to advocate to other levels of government?
So if we have a municipal issue, for example, water, that isn't being addressed to the best of our ability, and we have to take it to the next level, then it's council's responsibility to address or to redirect or to direct administration to follow up and find out why we're having the issues. But it's also at council's direction to tell administration to go up to the next level. I'm having trouble with your question, to be honest with you. It's a little convoluted for me. Sorry. It's okay. No, it happened.
80% of, well, I'd like to say it's 100% of what we work on is a municipal issue. I don't think residents truly understand the day-to-day impact that municipal government makes, which is my call for why you all need to be voting municipally. So I think it is being involved in groups like AUMA and the FCM, the federal level, the national group, involved in groups like that, because what it allows us to do as municipalities is to realize that our issue, and I'm going to pick on one with ambulances, is not just Okotoks' issue. This is a province issue. So how do we empower all of the municipalities and work together to do that advocacy to the province? But then it's also taking and understanding projects we're working on, if there's funding that needs to come from the province, where the holdups are, if we need to be calling on a daily basis, which is what I believe as mayor I'm going to have to do on a water pipeline for funding. So Alberta Environment, get ready and go from there.
I believe it is important to sustain great, strong relationships with our provincial and federal governments. I believe the more that we build these relationships and work together with them, the better off Okotoks will be. Having relationships with the other forms of government will allow us to work together to be able to help those bodies better understand what the needs are of Okotoks. And exactly, for example, our ambulance issues. If the provincial government is able to understand what it is we need as far as better reaction times for ambulances, then they know that they can go back to AHS and determine what we can do to solve that.
Outside of water, of the challenges facing Okotoks, what is your top priority?
In this next year, it's actually community reconnection. I think we've had a long 20 months, and I'm not sure if those 20 months are over yet, but I think we've had a long 20 months that have been divisive. And the thing that has always made Okotoks great for me is the community that we are. The camaraderie, the wave on the street, the go into any shop and you know who that is, or you see somebody at the grocery store. I don't like to go to the grocery store in the middle of the afternoon because it takes me an hour and a half to get out of the grocery store and I haven't bought any groceries. But that piece of it. So I think there's a real focus that needs to be dealt with on the reconnection of it, particularly around the mental health issues. I don't think we have a solid understanding of the mental health impacts that COVID has had in our community. And we need to get people out of their homes and back reconnected. I'm hoping that'll happen sooner rather than later, but I don't see the light at the moment. So I'm hoping the light will come. Jeff?
I believe business traction and getting businesses into Okotoks. We have a community where the business to residential tax ratio is way out of balance. And we also have 3 brand new communities, residential communities that are now going up within our town. And I believe that will only increase the residential tax burden upon our residents. And so it is very important that we make sure we attract and invest in businesses coming to Okotoks so that we can lessen the burden on the residents. We're coming out of a recovery, we're coming out of a COVID recession that has people on their backs. People are losing their jobs. People can't even pay their bills. They're struggling. So the more we can reduce a tax burden on our residents, I think the better we'll be off as a community.
Aside from water, my top priority is communication and rebuilding community. I agree with Tanya again. We agree on many things. Our community has become so divisive, and it's so sad to see it happen. But the communication to me is probably one of the things that I've heard the most about during this campaign and over the course of several years. There's been a communication breakdown, and we need to focus on getting a good, solid system in place so that people feel that they are being heard.
Looking forward in terms of recovery, businesses and citizens alike have definitely suffered loss over the last, are we calling it 20 months now? I was going to say 18, long time it would seem. In your opinion, what is the town's role on the path to recovery?
I think it would be supporting our communities, supporting our businesses, supporting our residents, creating ways that we can all come together through events within our town. We can create a sense of community, but also, again, bringing in business, helping support the residents economically. The more businesses we are able to bring into our community, the less of the burden it's going to be on the taxpayers. The more businesses we bring in, the less the more equal our ratios will get. I believe that businesses aren't as much of a burden on our services. So increasing residents isn't necessarily the way to go. We need to increase the business so that we can then offset and relieve the tax burden on our residents.
Recovery for business and residents, and our role as a council would be to bring the people together and bring the businesses together from all sectors and find out how they can partner to rebuild their businesses or open their businesses back up and be successful or expand their businesses. But it's also about bringing our residents out and involving them in the decision making so that they feel that they're being heard. This whole 20 months has just been devastating to our community. It's been devastating to everybody, let's face it. And anything that we can do to be positive role models and proactive for our community will benefit all of us in the long run.
I think the town's role is as a facilitator. And it's in terms of one, identifying what is needed. We are the baby of all levels of government, and we don't have the ability to give out incentives and give tax breaks to the same degree because we have to balance our budgets. We don't get to run deficits. So I think it's around facilitating and understanding what is needed. And then I think there's a piece that just in our own community as a whole, and I've seen it over the last little bit too, is how do we support each other? So how do we shop local? Instead of deciding we're going to go for dinner into Calgary, well, how do you choose a restaurant here? Instead of, ordering online at Amazon, is there a service that's available here in our business community? Is there a way for you to bring your neighbors together for a block party so that you can get reconnected and you can bring them into the street so that people can feel supported again and feel connected? So I think there's a lot of things we can do in that facilitation role.
As a community that resides in Treaty 7 territory, what will you do to learn about and lead our community in the truth and reconciliation process?
The Truth and Reconciliation process has several calls to action, and I believe that Okotoks is just getting started in that area. There's several areas that we can acknowledge that need to be addressed on a local level and hopefully set precedents for other municipalities. I'd like to see Okotoks be a leader in this area. It's certainly nothing that we'll get an award for, but it's certainly something that will be recognized for the generations to come.
I think we've started to lay the groundwork in this. We're in our infancy, as Naydene has said. So I think there's a few things. One, it's in education. Council and our administration team all need some training and education in Indigenous relationships of even how to start that. I've done some of that over the last 2 years, I will say, and I'm surprised at what I don't know. So it's a learning process. And I think if we can acknowledge that we're learning and we're trying to step into the space, that's where we need to go. We need to identify and really understand what the municipal level calls of action are in the TRC. And I would really like to see at least a couple of those as key strategic initiatives in our strategic planning sessions for us to move forward. But we have started to make some really great strides. We've got work that's happening with the Ethel Tucker Park that Indigenous is involved in what that design will be, and an Indigenous council has been created.
It's got to start with engagement and understanding where our Indigenous are coming from and how they feel, and being able to connect with them and understand what they need and where they need to be within our community, and how we can create a way for them to feel a part of our community. And I think with Truth and Reconciliation the event that happened the other day, I think that's a start. It brought people out, it brought people together, and it brought people who wouldn't necessarily maybe have gone to something like that. And I believe this is the beginning of people starting to really want to learn and be educated about what they face. And I believe engaging with them is the best way to learn.
Anna, just I'm glad that's your responsibility. Do you feel the RCMP and municipal enforcement have enough staff to manage the current issues that Okotoks faces?
Yes and no. I think it's a complicated question because that is one area that it comes down to budget dollars. I think we need to determine, we're a safe community. Our community is overall a very safe community. I think there's a better way for us I'd like to see us move municipal enforcement to 24 hours. Our municipal enforcement goes 6 to 12. So I think there would be value to us looking at a 24-hour shift. But that is a cost impact. And so I think, based on the budget surveys that have been done over the last couple of years, it's not the number one investment area that our community is asking for. So it is about creating that balance, but we are a very safe community. And so where do we want to put dollars for, and what do we want those dollars for from an enforcement perspective?
Having 4 full-time municipal enforcement staff, as I'm door knocking, I've engaged with many people in regards to this topic, and you know what they have concerns on is that there isn't enough coverage, there isn't enough time that they're out there, you know, and it's not necessarily from a protect me type of situation. It's more of just day-to-day bylaws that people would like to see enforced. And, you know, whether it's noise late at night or whether it's, you know, your neighbor has, you know, garbage out on their front lawn. So I do believe that, yes, we do need to have more staff on our municipal enforcement, but at the same time, it also needs to make sense as far as dollars go.
If I remember correctly, we currently have 25 RCMP and Jeff said 4 OME officers, municipal enforcement officers. I think one of the first things we need to take a look at is, I was at a meeting and the RCMP officers who spoke said that ideally they would like to have 1 officer per 1,000 people in a community, in our community. So that would require 5 more RCMP officers. And I think when we're looking at bylaws and Okotoks municipal enforcement, the first thing that we should be asking ourselves instead of for more bylaw enforcement is we need to start talking to our community. We need to start talking to our neighbors and letting them know that we have concerns ourselves rather than calling the police every time a dog barks or there's garbage in a yard.
What have you done to qualify yourself to be mayor?
I believe that through the volunteer commitments that I've done and the roles that I've played in my professional career, I believe that I've learned ways to bring people together, to make quick decisions, to look objectively at situations where there's multiple outcomes. And I believe that with my level-headed, common sense personality, I think that I would be a great mayor in the fact that I'm willing to listen and I'm willing to communicate and I'm willing to be a leader among many.
Naydene?
Oh, I didn't write it down. So for me to be, what I've done to be qualified as Okotoks mayor, I have been on council in the past. So I've served a 3-year term. I've taken municipal governance courses. I've taken leadership classes. I've also attended almost every council meeting, presented to council. I read the documents regularly. I pay attention to what's going on in the community, and I ask a lot of questions. I'm not afraid to do the surveys, even though I think sometimes they're a little off center. And I contact council when I have questions so I can get clarification so that I can share that clarification with other people in my own circle.
I've sat at the council table for 8 years and watched and learned from colleagues that are at that table. I have invested in becoming certified as an Institute of Corporate Directors on the governance side so that I really have a solid understanding of my role as a governor, because I think that's the biggest nuance that new councillors will have a challenge with. I know I did. I still struggle with it, of not getting into the how. I've taken 7 municipal elected leader courses. I've just completed my certificate in compassionate leadership and anti-racism work. And I've just finished an EQ training, emotional intelligence training for leaders. So I believe all of those skills make me a great leader for this role.
If elected, so just so you are aware, I'm going to ask 2 more questions. I'm going to ask this next question. Then the following question, I'm actually going to give you 90 seconds to answer. Phew. And then we'll move into closing remarks. Okay. If elected, what is your plan to help the community, help our community grow and strive to be better? Naydene, yeah.
I'm starting again. Comes around quite quickly. So what will I do to help our community grow and strive to be better?
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, so I said that right?
Yep.
Strive to be
Yep.
better? Well, in order for us to grow, we have to have a plan, and we have a lot of master plans in this town. We have to ask our community what they want in terms of the future. We have goals in place. Administration and past councils have set up goals. But as for helping community grow, I think the first thing we need to work on is our economic development and support our people, support our businesses so that they stay open and so that they thrive and can develop further. Am I at 60 or 90 seconds on this? Okay.
60 seconds for this one.
Okay.
You're at 45
And
seconds.
strive, we're just going to keep working together to make sure we have success.
I think we need to get really clear on what our value proposition is. Why Okotoks? Why do you choose it to live here? Why do you choose it to stay here? And why would you choose it for business here? Or why are you choosing it for business? So I think we need to get really clear on that. And then we need to start telling that story near, far, and wide. We need to help facilitate moving some of our home-based businesses out of their homes and into street fronts. But that is going to require us to do some work on that economic development piece with various different landowners or new builders potentially in terms of the size of space that's needed. We've got lots of 4,000 square foot space, but our home-based businesses and our small businesses want 500 square feet. So we need to be offering what they need. We also need to get out and start telling a different water story for Okotoks. We need to tell the story once we sign that deal, which I have every belief we will be done and we will be in the ground in 2022. We need to sell that story because a lot of people don't come here because of the story we have.
I'm going to get you to repeat it. I'm going to be that guy.
What are you going to do to help the community grow and strive to be better?
Great. I think it starts with making Okotoks a place that people want to come to. I believe through our community events, for one, that we showcase down on Elizabeth Street all the time. I think that's an amazing start. It's a place of community. It's a place where people want to be. How do we get people to come? Well, yeah, we need water and we need good financial solutions to bringing business to town. And I believe that with doing that, we can make Okotoks a better place if we all come together and work together and have a strategic plan on where we want to be and where we want to go. Because without a strategic plan, we're not going to get anywhere.
I'm going to change my mind and give you one more question because another thing has come through that I think is really relevant. Parents are really concerned in this community about the safety of their children getting to school. What is your plan to address that concern?
I'd need to understand that concern a little bit more.
The concern about roadways.
Yeah. Okay. So I just would need to understand it a little bit more of where the safety concern is. So I'd want to get a little bit more feedback around that. But I think there's some different programs that are out there. You know, I've seen the walking school bus programs where, you know, a community creates that walking school bus where kids can all walk together and they're walking in that pack. Walking in a pack, traveling in a pack always is safer. But I think we also need to take and have a look community in, because a lot of the concerns come from roadways. And the people that are using the roadways are citizens in our communities. And the reason parents are concerned is because people are speeding on those roadways. So what are we doing as citizens to keep everyone in our community safe? And we need to all be asking ourselves that question.
I believe the concern probably comes from the fact that around a lot of our schools, the traffic does get quite congested and people do get irritated and impatient. And I believe that possibly even around those school areas on some days or most days that we have some sort of bylaw presence around to just allow people to remember where they're driving and what the school zones are and be able to allow our children to walk home in a safe manner. It comes down to community. It comes down to people realizing that there are children out there walking along the roads and also the children being aware. So it's a complicated question with complicated answers, but there's definitely solutions. To get people to look into it is something that's needed, I guess.
So one of the things I'd like to say about it is planning for the future, having schools that are set up outside of busy areas. I think of Big Rock and I think of Dr. Morris Gibson and the mayhem and the years of controversy from parents saying that their children aren't safe. I think that we need to get back to some basics of buddy systems. And you called it a walking train or something, walking bus. Yep. Where parents are walking with their kids or older siblings or community volunteers who are willing to be out there and ensuring safety. And people need to slow down and get ticketed if they don't.
Shanda, we'll give 90 seconds for this. Do you want to give a ding at 75?
Me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah. We'll go with me anyway. It don't matter.
Everybody's happy with that. 3 reasons that you should be the next mayor.
Reasons. I believe reason number 1 is that I'm invested in this town. I'm a born and raised Okotokian that is raising my own family in this town. I want Okotoks to be a place where my sons grow up and are proud of it. I believe reason number 2 would be that I want to see the long-term future of Okotoks in a proper sustainable way. And in order for me to make a difference, I need to be in places that allow me to affect change and bring positivity and change. And number 3, I'm a great listener. I will listen to anyone and everyone about how this town is. This isn't my town. This is our town. And I think that I would be a great representative to lead Okotoks amongst many other municipalities in this area to be a better place. And so those are the reasons that I feel like I would be best to be mayor.
My 3 reasons are because I want to keep Okotoks. Don't want a reflection of Calgary. I'm a great communicator, though sometimes I get upset just like anybody else. And I want to get our focus back on the people, back on our residents and our businesses, and make them come first. I want council to take lead again. Somewhere along the line, it was lost. So I want to be the leader that brings us back together as a municipality with strength and belief in each other and trust in each other.
Tanya?
My 3 reasons I want to be mayor: experience, I understand what's been happening at the table. I have the knowledge of where we're at right now. I have trained in governance and that whole rounded of making me a good governor at the table. That's one. My servant leadership philosophy. So key elements of that philosophy for me are encouraging a diversity of thought, creating a culture of trust, being open to ideas and being able to pull good ideas out of people and really foster that. And then also fostering leadership in others. I believe that great teams have multiple leaders and all have the ability to be those leaders. That's two. What's my third one? Governance. Coming into council, and you see it a lot, people want to get into the how, they want to get into the weeds. That is not our job. And we really need to understand that governance. This table is going to have 5 new people at it this year. We need some people that understand how governance works, understands where those boundaries can be pushed with administration, and the experience to lead a team through that. And I believe that's why I should be the next mayor.
Thank you. This has come to the time when everybody gets to make their closing statements after that. Naydene, you get to go first.
Thanks to the Chamber for this opportunity. I will lead our town council to exhaust all options for community engagement. I'll find out what the province really wants to help us get that pipeline done. I'll listen, participate, focus, and I'll represent all Okotokians. I'll find the solutions to your concerns. I'll advocate for a made in Okotoks, live within our means mentality on public spending. I'd like to remind you that your only right now during this emergency order is the right to vote. So please don't give up that right. Advanced polls open on Friday. Please vote for Naydene Lewis as your next mayor.
I would like to thank the Okotoks District Chamber of Commerce for hosting tonight's event, my fellow candidates, and all 24 people have put their name forward to sit at the council table. It's not an easy task, just deciding to run. So just to recap why I'm running for mayor, I believe with strong leadership, Okotoks can build a future where possibilities are realized for our entire community. I have a track record of community engagement, of asking hard questions, of being prepared, and keeping an open mind. I am someone who is experienced, who can solution seek, who can build bridges as a team to make the exceptional happen for today and into the future. My call for action, again, for all of you who can hear my voice, is to vote by October 18th. Advance polls, as Naydene said, but get out and vote. And a vote for Tanya Thorn for mayor would be even better. Thank you.
I would also like to echo an acknowledgement to the Chamber of Commerce for putting this on for us, allowing us to have a platform to inform our residents how we feel we are best as a mayor. I also want to thank everyone out there watching here and at home. Anyone who'd submitted a question, I want to thank you as well. That's a very important part of this process. I didn't decide to make this decision to be running for mayor very, very easily. And I believe that through my passion for this town and my wanting Okotoks to be a better place is where it's driven from. I believe Okotoks is great, but I also think that we can make it better. So please help me make Okotoks better on October 18th. Thank you.
On behalf of the Okotoks and District Chamber of Commerce, and in fact, our whole community, thank you to all of you. Putting your name forward to stand and run for this job is not an easy task. And it's all consuming for the last while. And it puts a lot of you on the line. And we should all be grateful to all of you for the time and commitment and effort that is required to do that. And all because you're passionate about bettering this community. And for that, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and the community at large, thank you very much for putting your name forward, for being here, and for your commitment to this community. I have been asked to briefly apologize for the technical difficulties we experienced via Zoom at the beginning of this. That was, shocking turn of events. Nobody has ever had any challenges with Zoom in the last 18 months. Who knew we would be here and running this forum via Zoom, and how much of our lives have been spent, in 2D in the last bunch of months. So we do apologize. I'm glad we got that sorted out rather quickly. And as a reminder to the community, the candidate forum is on Thursday, starting at 4 p.m. at the Foothills Centennial Center. From 4 to 5, we're inviting seniors to come and have their time with our candidates. The candidates will each have a table, a sort of booth, if you will, in that space. So you can go and have conversations with the candidates that you want to have conversations with. At 5 o'clock, we'll open to the general public, 200 at a time. And at 5:30, the first round of candidates introducing themselves will begin. That will go from about 5:30 to 6:30 approximately. We'll hope that there's a changeover of audience at that time, and the people will be coming and going. And then again at 7:30, each of the candidates will be introduced and have another round of introducing themselves to hopefully what is a new and fresh audience, with the evening wrapping up at 9 o'clock. We appreciate everybody's malleability as we adapt to the changing requirements and rules and regulations around our public spaces as we go. And we've done our best to ensure that everybody has a voice. And I think certainly we heard your voices on a very big range of topics tonight, and covered off a lot of things that were made possible by this format. So again, thank you very much. Have an awesome evening, everyone.